Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow, EU, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and or go to the Facebook live video feed, the link to which I will now place in the chat room. There it has been placed. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. Tonight, our featured guest is Professor Dr. Franz Patay, Managing Director of Vereinigte Bühnen Wien, or its acronym VBW, and Vereinigte Bühnen Wien International. Vereinigte Bühnen Wien manages 4 of Vienna's most prestigious musical theaters: Theater an der Wien, Raimund Theater, Ronacher, and Kammeroper, which together, in a country of 9 million inhabitants, host around 600,000 patrons per year. Nevertheless, a special part of Vereinigte Bühnen Wien's operations happens outside of Vienna. VBW writes, produces, and publishes its very own signature music theater repertoire, which it licenses for performance the world over. The enduring international success of VBW's proprietary musical theater repertoire places Vienna in the ranks of New York's Broadway and London's West End, and has given rise to the so-called Viennese music theater genre. Every year, VBW's musicals are translated into 16 different languages in 22 different countries and are enjoyed by 1 million international theater patrons. Also joining us tonight is the mezzo-soprano Sophia Finig, a member of the Jungen Ensemble of the Kammeroper, Professor Niels Moos, Director of the Opera Masters Program at the Music and Arts University of the City of Vienna, and Professor Lino Rivera of St. Mary's College of California. Professor Patay, welcome.
Good evening. Welcome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I imagine you're from Vienna. Tell us about yourself and how it is that you got into cultural management and you eventually decided to dedicate your entire career to it.
Actually, I was born into a very artistic family. My father was a member of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. My mother was a writer of children's books, so a regular job was not in my observation when I was growing up. However, I decided to study law. When you are in puberty, you are always in opposition to your parents, so I did something completely different. However, after having finished my studies with my doctor degree and working in a law firm, I found out that dealing with other people's problems is not what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I discovered by chance, because my sister was studying at the Viennese University for Music and Performing Arts. She was singing. I saw in the book of all the lectures that there was a postgraduate master course for arts administration. So I made the casting, I was accepted. And then I ended up not finishing this course, but I ended up at being the deputy director of administration of the university at the age of 26. So I was quite young as most of the students. And from there on, I continued my career in arts administration. You are mute.
Thank you. So how is it at 26 that you got a job at the very top of the music university administration?
The artistic director, the rector of the university at the time, he had a job to offer, and as I was a student, I could apply for this job. And then I could not finish my study because you can't be at the same time student and head of administration in a university. So I have not a formal degree for that, but I survived, as you see.
So tell us just about the difference between working in a law office and then working at the head of this administration. What was there anything that was the same, anything completely different? How did it change you as a person?
On the one hand, legal study is a kind of general education. You know how life works and what the rules are and how you have to stick to the rules and where you can escape the rules, where the red lines are and things like that. But I know when I was young, there was a TV serial coming from the US, what's called Petrocelli. It's about a lawyer who was always defending the widows and the orphans. But when I was working in my law firm, I had to discover that there's also a lawyer on the other side. If you are not, fond of the other's opinion, the client who's paying you, you always have to put his stand in front of your activities. And this is what I didn't want to do. Also, as a lawyer, you earn a lot of money. You can't eat more than from a golden or silver plate. Yeah? So the quality of life doesn't increase in the same amount as your salary increases. So I decided doing things that I like to do, where I can have my creativity more developed and be part of my job. So I'm not regretting my decision that I took when I was at this age. Yeah?
Fantastic. And Professor Patay, may I ask if you could speak up just a little bit? I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you sometimes. And I wanted to ask you, so as a lawyer, were there parts that you enjoyed? Did you get to do any of that Robin Hood-like lawyering?
Actually, I was in a law firm where we had the mandates of big industrial companies. And this is actually what I didn't like. I could not make the stand and being responsible for the widows and the orphans. I was always on the other side, and this was a kind of frustration, because my self-estimation and my personal moral standards were not compatible with what I had to do. So I decided to quit.
Understood. And then before we move on, was there parts of this legal education that you had and experience that you were able to bring to the administration, to the arts administration, that really gave you a big advantage?
I mean, having a doctor degree in law helps you in understanding the world, because everything is a kind of logistic structure. It is about rules, and you have to structure your activities, and you have to find out what is important, because artists or creative people very often stick to their we say emotional communication, and you have to filter out what is relevant for making a contract, for dealing with managers, whatever. And it's quite helpful that you know what's behind all this emotional communication, that you can filter out, and make the substrate of what is relevant to make things happen.
Wonderful. So, and I'm sure you'll agree that our Western civilization is based on law. For instance, the 10 Commandments given to Moses, which, like you say, get rid of all the emotional and just get right to the point. Let's take a look at our next video. This is Dance with the Vampire. Dance of the Vampires, excuse me.
Vernunft wird am Ende triumphieren und mag auch die Professoren zum Wissen ignorieren. Doch ich hasse Emotionen, niemand kann mich provozieren. Ohne jemals mich zu schonen, bleibe ich aber halt immer auf der Spur.
Wir sind zum ewigen Leben verflucht.
Ich bin zum Leben erwacht. Die Ewigkeit beginnt heute Nacht. Die Ewigkeit beginnt heute Nacht. Ich hab mich gesehnt, danach mein Herz zu verlieren. Jetzt verliere ich fast den Verstand.
Wonderful. So, Professor Dr. Patay, tell us about Vereinigte Bühnen Wien. What is this organization? We know that it runs 4 theaters in Vienna. Tell us about exactly what you do, what your mandate is.
VBW is a subsidiary of the city of Vienna, one has to say. We are owned by the Vienna Holding. The Vienna Holding regroups all the companies where the city of Vienna has shares, and then the city of Vienna is above that. So we are a company that regroups 2 houses that are dedicated to opera and 2 houses that are dedicated to musical. And in this field, we are a first-class musical producer. So that means we are in the Champions League. We do only high-class musicals. You saw Mozart, an excerpt just before, and now Dance of the Vampires. Both musicals had millions of visitors so far, were shown in a lot of languages in different countries, and were produced by ourselves. And we are, on the one hand, producing on ourselves and licensing our shows internationally. About 1 million, 1.4 million a year of visitors and ticket buyers to our shows all around the world. On the other hand, we are also importing or showing international big shows in Vienna. Miss Saigon is coming up in autumn. We had Bodyguard, we have Cats running now. So we are quite a successful and big musical producer and player. And with 4 theaters and 600,000 tickets sold every year in this city, that has only 2 million inhabitants compared to London and New York with, I don't know, 17, 20 million inhabitants. We do quite a good job in this small community by selling this big amount of tickets. Also, we are facing strong competition because we have the Vienna State Opera, the Federal Theaters in Vienna, the Musikverein, the Concert House. So there's a lot of things and activities going on, and we're quite successful in doing so.
Understood. So in other words, Vereinigte Bühnen Wien manages these 4 theaters and is also responsible for writing these new musicals. Is that right?
This is correct. Yeah? We develop and produce and license musicals on our own, and we do this worldwide with the big stars, yeah? And the big creators. One of our last shows was Schikaneder. The composer was Stephen Schwartz. You may know this person. He was the composer of Wicked, one of the most successful musicals. And our musical with him as composer was also successful. We're now trying to license this abroad as well. Trevor Nunn, the famous director, first director of Cats and a lot of other Broadway and West End shows, was the director of this show. So you see, we are attractive and we're interesting to all these big names. And they are, I would not say queuing up, but they are not neglecting us as a partner when we make offers to make co-productions.
So VBW goes and finds a composer, commissions these very highly talented musicians, composers to work on these productions, and you give them also, you put them together with somebody who writes the script, and then they eventually, that becomes a production that then happens, I imagine, as a premiere at one of your 4 theaters?
Yes, so we have an artistic director, Christian Strobeck. He is also a very gifted script writer, and he develops most of our scripts. Then, of course, we make workshops where we have to try out and to test whether the show works and the storytelling and the narrative is okay. And then, of course, we have to produce it. Yeah? And this is always a big challenge and a big adventure, whether the show is successful or not. But we have a quite big ratio of successful shows. Most of our shows are successful.
So Professor Dr. Patay, I'd like to take a look at these 4 theaters now. I believe we have some photos here to take a look at them. So the 2 musical theaters are the Ronacher that we're looking at right now.
This is the Ronacher. This was built in 1872, so it's a historic place. Has a long tradition as a house with entertainment. Most famous, what was her name? The lady with the banana skirt. Josephine Baker was performing there. A lot of jazz was happening there. After the Second World War, the state opera, or not the state opera, the book theater, the Austrian television had to record there. And this is in the very center of the city of Vienna, just a few steps away from St. Stephen's Cathedral. And yeah, right now we are trying to play Cats when the lockdown will be lifted. Yeah, we were sold out.
Excuse me for breaking in. And it looks like it's been completely renovated. So it's a modern on top of the 1872 structure.
It's been renovated in 10 years ago. It was finished in 2009, yeah, or 8. And yeah, it was a quite huge thing to do that, yeah. And now it's state of the art, of course, yeah.
Let's take a look at the next photos. There it is inside. Wow.
This is
the
inside of the Ronacher, yes. It seats around 1,000 seats, a little bit more, depending on the show. And as you can see, it's quite nice and people enjoy being there.
It looks lovely. And we have also then going on to the, wow, yeah. So we have
also the Ronacher.
And we have the Raimund Theater, which is the original musical theater in Vienna. Maybe we can take a look at the next photo.
The Raimund, this is Cats now running in the Ronacher. Yeah. The Raimund Theater, this was built in 1893. That's our next theater. This is this one. It's now in restoration or in refurbishing. What you see is a computer rendering how it will look when we reopen it. Yeah, it's quite ready right now, but because of the lockdown, we couldn't open it. We think we will do it with a big gala in autumn, end of September. And this was actually built by a group of Viennese citizens who put money together and wanted to make a theater that made it possible for lower class people also to have high quality theater experience. And we took over this theater after the Second World War in the 60s. And now we run it and we own it. Yeah? And now it's just in restoration. This is the inside of the theater. Actually, Raimund was a famous Austrian writer in the 19th century, and it's named after him. There you see the stage.
Lovely. So thank you very much for that photo gallery. Wow, that's impressive.
This is now after the restoration.
And so these two theaters, like you said, are completely dedicated to musicals.
Yes.
And so you
This
have
is where we
Cats
do
going
our
on,
musicals.
and then Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon will come up in the Raimund Theater in autumn. Yes.
There we have a comment from Carol. By God Forte, I have a postcard to show from a Vienna around the 1890s to 1900 of the Opera House and the theater. So that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Theaterhof Opernhaus, Wien. Ich glaube
This is the-
1900.
This is the Theater an der Wien, right? No, that's the State Opera.
Ja,
State
Opernhaus. Das
Opera. Yes, the State
Opernhaus.
Opera.
Und hier ist Hofburger Theater.
Das Hofburgtheater. I think that this is also the State Opera, or the Burgtheater. It's the Burgtheater. Yeah, it's for drama, not for music theater.
okay, thank you very much.
But
for sharing that.
these two theaters, they are still owned by the Republic of Austria, not by the city of Vienna, like my theaters, and they were the former court theaters, yeah, owned by the emperor.
Wonderful. So I believe we have some live music. I would like to introduce Sophia Finik, mezzo-soprano of the Jungen ensemble of the Kammeroper. So she is part of one of the four theaters. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Professor Niels Moos.
Hello.
So you have, I believe, you're going to sing for us some Rossini.
I will. Actually, I was supposed to sing that role in the Kammeroper this season, but it was, of course, cancelled. So
We'll do it now.
we'll do it now for you.
Yeah.
Una voce poco fa, come nel cor mi risuonò, il mio cor ferito è già, e l'indorfo che piagò, sì l'indoro mio sarà, lo giurai, la vincerò, sì l'indoro mio sarà, lo giurai, mi fa guidar, mi fa guidar. Ma se mi toccano dove il mio debole, sarò la libera, sarò. E 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar. E 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar, farò giocar. E 100 trappole prima di cedere. E 100 trappole farò giocar. Io sono docile, sono obbediente, mi lascio reggere, mi fa guidare. Ma se mi toccano dove il mio debole, sarò la libera, sarò. E 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar. E 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar, farò giocar. E 100 trappole prima di cedere. E 100 trappole farò giocar. E 100 trappole farò giocar. E 100 trappole farò giocar, farò giocar. Sì!
Brava. Wonderful, fantastic. So, Sophia, you're a member, I believe, one of 5 members of this Junges ensemble of the Kammeroper. So, what exactly are you? They just give you roles like this, and you sing professionally.
Yeah, I mean, we are actually 6 people, and there were, I think, 572 applicants. I checked before this show, and yeah, we are an international team, and we get to sing leading roles, big roles in the Kammeroper, and supporting roles in the Theater in Wien, which is very nice. We get to work with young directors, conductors, also very famous directors like Peter Konvichny. We just did Thais by Jules Massenet. And yeah, we are all very happy to be in this theater. And normally we would be working non-stop without a real break, but now we have COVID. So yeah, we have a lot of free time.
Well, we're glad to have you, glad that you have the time for us. So we have some photos, I think, of the Junges ensemble and the Kammeroper. Let's take a look. There it is. So that's the entrance, I suppose.
Yeah. That's where we live.
Okay. It looks very nice. Okay, so it's kind of like a salon, a small, this Kammeroper, it's a small area. It's very intimate feeling. Is that right?
Yeah. And we do a lot of Baroque music there, but also music from the 20th and 19th century. Yeah, but it's a very special atmosphere, and the productions are also, yeah, very intimate and different from the shows in the big opera house.
Okay. There we have it.
Yeah.
There, I see you, Sophia.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you met all of these fine young people just when you
Yeah.
entered the Junges ensemble?
Yeah, we're friends, and yeah, it's Miriam Kutrova, Ivan Zinoviev, Valentina Petraeva, Andrew Morstein, and Sebastian Perez. So we're an international group, and yeah,
And
I'm
so,
looking forward to meeting everyone.
and they're each a different voice, is that right? A
Yeah,
different.
yeah, they're two soprano voices. It's
Mhm.
Miriam and Valentina, but they're also different voices. And Ivan is a bass, Sebastian is a baritone, and Andrew is a tenor.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we look forward to hearing you then. There it is, their group again. Wonderful. Thank you very much for that show.
Thank you.
So now I believe we have a video. We're going on to Theater an der Wien. We're going to take a look at Beethoven's Fidelio, which was written directly at Theater an der Wien.
Komm, lass an dieses Herz dich drücken. Oh, Leonore, komm von
Fantastic. So, Professor Dr. Patay, Theater an der Wien actually was founded, or the brainchild of Emanuel Schikaneder, as you said, the librettist of Mozart's The Magic Flute, and actually Beethoven's second, third, fifth, sixth symphonies and his only opera Fidelio were premiered there. So tell us about this historic music-changing theater.
I mean, the saying is that the opera was founded by Emanuel Schikaneder with the profit he made out of the Magic Flute. Yeah? Because 10 years after Mozart's death, the theater was built or opened. And with the profit he made in this time, he could open the theater. And the first conductor he employed was Ludwig van Beethoven. And this was actually the only employed job Ludwig van Beethoven had in his career. The rest of his life he was freelance or self-employed, as you say. It's a very historic place. Since 1801, it has a long tradition of music theater. Not only opera and concerts, as you said, were premiered there. Also theater plays by Nestroy, one of a famous Austrian writer. Schubert operas were premiered there. A lot of operettas, the Fledermaus, the Bat by Johann Strauss, the Merry Widow by Franz Lehár. And it's a long, long history and a long tradition since 1801 that this house is part of the city of Vienna. And as the lady showed the photos of the Vienna State Opera, at the time when our theater was built, it was the biggest theater in Vienna, bigger than the Emperor Theater, and it was the place to be. If you could sell out the Theater an der Wien, you made it as an artist. And this is why Beethoven wanted to be there, wanted to play there. And it's still a place of desire for audience and artists to be here and using this genius of this location.
Okay. Fantastic.
Inspired.
Let's take a look at some of the photos. I believe we have a few photos of Theater an der Wien. If we can take a look at them, please. So as you said, Professor Dr. Patay, here we have the inside. This was state of the art in 1801.
Yes, and it's still, the auditorium looks still the same as it used to look when Beethoven was there. Not a lot has changed. Yeah? The chairs have, of course, changed, and the tapestry and the carpet, but the audience, the auditorium is still the same. And you can experience original Viennese 19th century. However, what we do on the stage is contemporary, and we attract an audience of today. I see,
Professor Dr. Patay, there are frescoes on the ceiling.
Yeah, that's the Musen, the Muses, I guess, yeah.
And so this was actually a very, very prestigious theater to go to, I imagine.
And it still is. I mean, if you go to Wikipedia, you can have a list, or you can look at a list of all the works that were premiered there since 1801 or 1802 till today. Yeah? The time is not, I would say, we have not enough time to mention all these works that were premiered there and all the artists who showed up there. But we are happy to have this place as it is unique. Yeah? It is a historical place. On the other hand, we attract a contemporary audience, and our aim and our goal is, of course, to get in touch with our audience with stories, with messages, with productions that are attracting an audience today and move and touch the emotions of audiences that are living today. We're looking in the future, not always looking in the past. Also, we have to be careful about what we did in the past and take this into consideration.
And Carol Bagot-Forte, one of our members, showed us the Vienna State Opera, like you said. What's the difference between what you see at the Vienna State Opera and what you see at Theater an der Wien today?
And the way we produce is different. The Vienna State Opera is a so-called repertoire theater. They have 40 to 50 different performances a year. And they don't have that, how we say, that deepness in the quality of production. In our house, we have the so-called stagione principle. Every production we do had a rehearsal time of 6 weeks, where from the first rehearsal to the last performance, the same musician sits on the same music stand, and all the artists participate from the very first rehearsal to the last performance. And we don't have this rotation principle as it is in other houses who have this repertoire system where the singers, the orchestra members change during a period of performances. And this ensures that every of our performances has festival character and festival quality. And this is unique, and this is our USP. And we're proud of being able to do that. And we can choose for every performance, for every piece, the best artists, the best orchestras, the best conductors, the best directors, who our artistic directors believe will deliver the best result. We are not depending on an ensemble, on a regular paid staff, because every production we create a new team where we believe that the result will be best, serving this plan. Yeah.
So Professor Dr. Patay, in other words, you're saying that the quality is extremely high and that it's an extremely dynamic theater, just like it originally was with Emanuel Schikaneder and Beethoven, that was really trying to do something new, not repeat anything old.
I mean, of course, when we play Fidelio, as you just saw the excerpt, I mean, it's a piece that's old, but we want to present it to an audience of today, and we want to transport emotions for an audience of today, and we want to touch an audience of today, and we want to communicate with an audience of today. And the way of communication and the topics, the themes, what people are interested change with the time. There's a different angle that you look at these masterpieces of history, and we are here to present that in that way. We do not want to be too traditional and doing always the same. Repetition is nice, but we're also interested in new things.
Fantastic. So we have one of our panelists, Professor Lino Rivera of St. Mary's College of California, who has a question or comment. Professor Rivera?
Yes, it's a pleasure meeting you here, Dr. Patay. I actually have two questions. One is, why 4 theaters in your Vereinigte Bühne? What are the differences between the 4 theaters? Are there functions that are different? They are presenting different kinds of productions. So can you tell us the difference between the 4 theaters? And number 2 question, how are you dealing with paying your musicians? As you know, here in the San Francisco area where I live, the opera, the ballet, the symphony orchestra, they are all, the seasons are canceled and we are struggling. So my second question is, what are you doing in order to support your artists?
Okay, question number 1. We are one company regrouping these 4 theaters. 2 of them are dedicated to opera, classical music more or less, and the other 2 theaters are dedicated to musical. The reason why we are regrouped under one company, one umbrella, is that there's a lot of synergy in the field of marketing, in the field of administration, and we save costs by doing so. We can use economy of scales in certain fields, and this is also one of the reasons why we are doing this. If you have 4 theaters, you need 4 legal departments, 4 human resource departments, 4 times you have, I don't know, all this stuff. And so we have one department for everything, and it's cheaper. The second question was, how do we deal with the situation, with the present situation? On the one hand, orchestras was your question. We make deals with the major orchestras here in Vienna, with the Vienna Symphony Orchestra, with the orchestra of the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, the RSO Radio Symphony Orchestra. And we pay the orchestra, and the orchestra pays the orchestra members according to their contract, the labor union contracts. Yeah? So we do not interfere in the inner system of the orchestra because we employ the orchestra, and the orchestra deals with their rules. Yeah? If we employ artists, singers, they are employed with us, and their contracts go with our regulations. Yeah? We have, of course, a regulation that does not allow us salary dumping, as we call it. Yeah, there's a minimum wage that we have to pay, and of course we have to match the market prices of artists. If the evening salary of a singer is, I don't know, 5,000 or 7,000 or 2,000, we pay that what the market price or what the agent asks for. There's no big difference between us and other opera houses in Vienna. As you know, there are two others, the Volksoper and the State Opera, and we have to be part of the market and we have to pay same amounts. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we deal now with the situation? Yeah, that is actually your question.
Yeah,
in the field of music. Yeah, please.
Actually,
Yeah.
how you are paying, where is the money coming from? There are no ticket sales for us, for example, here, no subscriptions. Where is the money coming from to pay your musicians?
I mean, we are subsidized by the city of Vienna. Our company is a very economic, successful company. 56% of our budget is earned by ticket income, by international activities, by sponsoring, fundraising, things like that. And 44 to 48, depends on the year, is coming with a subsidy from the city of Vienna. And now in this crisis, we and other companies in the economic field, it's not only for art institutions, also for enterprises, for sales companies, we benefit from the from funds that are given from the Austrian government to companies who are suffering from the shutdown. Yeah? We get compensation by the Austrian government for our staff who cannot work. Yeah? The staff is reduced by 10 to 20%, depends on the level of the salary. The more you earn, the more you have to reduce your salary, maximum 20%. And the difference then comes from the government, and they support us. But not only arts institutions, also the industry, whatever. Yeah? This is how it works in
Fantastic.
Austria.
Fantastic. So I believe we have one last video. I Am from Austria, which
This
has
is our
become an
last
international
success.
hit. Let's take a look at it.
Yes.
Alles ist möglich, noch unterwegs. Alles bewegt sich, nichts ist fix.
Sich vorlatte Zinsen ins Fäustchen zu grinsen, hilft überhaupt nichts, weil
Nichts ist fix, nichts ist fix, nichts ist fix, nichts ist fix.
Da sind's die Schickimicki.
Ich liebe der Sport. Ist gesund und macht uns hart. Gibt uns Kraft, gibt uns Schwung. Ist beliebt bei Heut und Jung. Ich liebe der Sport. Ich bin dein Apfel, du mein Traum. So wie der Wasser neuwärts rinnt, unwiderstehlich und so hart, fast wie die Tränen von einem Kind. Wird einmal Blut auf einmal stark, sag ich am Ende, bevor ich steig. Und wenn ihr wollt, sagt ganz allein, I am from Austria. I am from Austria.
Fantastic. So, Professor Dr. Patay, so tell us, are you particularly proud of any one of these commissions, of these productions that you've done? In 100 years, like Beethoven's Fidelio? Are we going to be talking about one of them in particular? Maybe we'll be talking about it more then than we are today?
I want to make an additional comment to the last question of the professor. Yeah? We are attracting the best people, yeah? The best people in administration, the best artists, the best directors, the best musicians, and the best stagehands. Yeah? So if the situation now is a very, how we say, a very sad one, we don't give termination to our staff because we feel a responsibility for the 800 people that we have employed. And we need them when we can continue our shows, when there is a vaccination and when the shows can reopen. So we do not do what you do in your country because we feel a responsibility, want to keep the good people. It was very hard to find all this stuff. We are very proud of having them. And we want to keep them in our house and we want to survive together this very sad situation. So this is why we make all these efforts to keep the staff, and we so far had not to give termination with the help of the government and also with the help of our staff who has participated in the efforts, just to finish that. Yeah. Second thing, of course, we are happy and we are proud. This music that you just saw, it was our last success. We just licensed it to Japan with 250,000 tickets sold there, about 96 performances sold out. It was on television, broadcast in Austria. We had a market share, I think, of 20%. What was it? Yeah. It was the best show, the second best show on that evening when it was transmitted on Austrian broadcasting. The best show is always Tator, that's a crime series on Sunday evening, but then it was already us. Yeah. So we're very proud of that. It's an entertaining show. It's a jukebox musical with music of an Austrian singer-songwriter. But this is a very good example of how we can attract audiences. And the show was sold out for 2 years, 500 performances in Vienna alone.
Fantastic. So last question, Professor Dr. Patay, of the evening. So you worked as the head of Vienna's two most prestigious music universities. Then now you are the head of Vereinigte Bühnen Wien. So, I mean, you are an elite among the arts administrators in Vienna, in Austria, in the world. Tell us, what is to you an excellent performance? What does excellent performing arts mean?
I mean, for me personally, it is an emotional experience. I mean, people go to the theater to have an emotional experience where they benefit for their personal lives. It's quite, on the one hand, expensive, and it's also time-consuming to attend a performance. Yeah? You have to dress up, you have to go there, you have to buy a ticket. If it's raining, you have to find a cab. So it's quite a struggle to go into theater. And a lot of people do that. Yeah? Now, in autumn, when we could play in front of audiences with all the restrictions that to wear a mask, and we had all these COVID restrictions, a lot of people do that, and they struggle to go to theaters, invest a lot of time and money to have this experience. And this is what makes me proud, that a lot of people, as I said, 600,000 in our case, come and attend our performances because they get something out of that. As me as well. I get something out of that enriches my life and will enrich the life of all these people. And it's very hard to describe it with words, but it is something that is making people's life richer. And I'm happy and I'm also proud and I'm privileged and gifted that I can work in a company that makes this. That our service is making people richer in their emotional lives. This is something that I think we are in a happy position doing that. And every day I find it's nice and I don't complain about my job.
So actually, then we've come full circle to the beginning of the show in which you were telling us that you had watched an American TV series about a lawyer who made other people's lives better. And here you find yourself a lawyer making other people's lives better. That's quite lovely to hear. So we have a
In a
comment.
different way, in a different way.
We have a comment from Professor Lino Rivera. We have another comment who said about your last comment, that is wonderful to hear. Very proud of you for continually supporting us artists. So now I believe I would like to ask back mezzo-soprano Sophia Winnig and Professor Niels Moos. I believe you have a last music selection for us.
We would like to perform for you one of the most important composers here in Vienna. It's the lead composer Hugo Wolf, and I will sing Das verlassene Mägdelein.
Brava, wonderful. That's just beautiful. Thank you very much, Sophia Winnig, Professor Niels Moos. So let's take a look at how to stay in touch with VBW. Here we have the website to get tickets for cats at the Ronacher. Let's take a look. There it is. So musicalvienna.at. There it is. You can order tickets, you can learn about the theater. That's wonderful. So we have cats, and I believe we also have Madame Miss Saigon somewhere around there. Oh, good, we've got them all set. Wonderful. There it is, Miss Saigon. That's at the Raimund Theater. And then we also have, I think, Theater an der Wien. Maybe we can take a look at that. So that's theater, then hyphen Wien.at. There it is. So that's the website, Theater an der Wien. And then we can go to the official VBW website. which is simply vbw.at. So that's wonderful. Thank you very much. So thank you so much to Professor Patay. Thank you very much to Sophia Finik. Thank you so much to Professor Niels Moos for the lovely performances.
Thank you.
So let's take a look at what we have for next week. Liliam Armijo, writing bedtime stories for children. In family life, reading bedtime stories to one's children may be considered the most precious part of any given day. Finally, a quiet moment exclusively meant for enjoying each other's company before saying goodnight. There is a unique class of professionals who have dedicated their lives to making those winged moments possible. They are professionals who take that ageless oath to offer every and anyone else the very same quality craftsmanship that they offer their own families at moon time. Liliam, who goes by Lily, will tell us about the unique creative process of writing bedtime stories for children, how she got started, hint, her career has yet to include earning a PhD, and why reading your own, quote, homemade bedtime stories to your children is something more of us might consider doing. Come welcome Lily to our show. As always, all information about all upcoming shows may be found at www.simeonmoro.com. So, and there we have it right there with the invitation. That's fantastic. So you can just go to simeonmoro.com and it will appear right there and you have the invitation. And there's our other show that we're doing right now. Fantastic. So again, thanks very much to Professor Dr. Franz Patay. Thanks very much to Sophia Vinik. Thanks to Professor Niels Moos and to Professor Lino Rivera. Thank you to our superhero production team, with a special thanks to Juan Orea for making all of the multimedia selections shine tonight. Of course, most of all, thanks to you, our participants, without whom this would not be worthwhile. So from Vienna, Austria, and from the Bay Area, California, goodbye, and see you next week.